The locksmith taught me that doors tell the truth before people do. That's why, when I stood in his doorway with a lemon sugar candle in my purse and a heartbeat like a hammer, I already knew I'd watch my husband rattle a knob that no longer recognized him. I'm Mariah, 42. Black woman raised by aunties who could taste a lie the way they taste too much salt in greens. I run a small catering company on Atlanta's west side, simmering pots, clattering lids, and the soft thrum of gospel on Sunday mornings while I prep for the week. My world has always been measured in teaspoons and timing and the quiet satisfaction of a well-locked pantry where nothing spoils before its season. Marcus, my husband, used to joke that I padlocked my heart with the same care I gave my spice rack. He said it like he admired me. Later, I would realize he said it because he was casing the place. The first sour note came as sweetness. That lemon sugar candle I didn't buy. I found it under the passenger seat of his truck, the wick white as a lie's smile. The scent wasn't mine. And more than that, its sweetness had a synthetic brightness, the kind that gets in your hair and announces itself before you do. When I pressed the wax with my thumb, it dented easy, like a memory you don't want to keep. I set it on our kitchen counter next to the bowl of keys and listened to the house listen back. Our bungalow in West End has floors that whisper when you cross them at night, and a front door that's stubborn in winter, and windows that catch late afternoon sun like they've been practicing for a photo. The house is a body that knows me, my weight on the stairs, the way I lean my hip into the counter while stirring a roux, the tune of my laugh when my cousin Yaya sends me mess over text. Homes, remember, they also warn. When Marcus's hours got crazy and his showers got longer, 2 songs and a bridge instead of 1, the house started sounding like a fractured hymn, off by a hair, barely enough to name. But I've learned to honor hairs. I didn't ask questions. Not because I feared truth, but because I needed a clean palate before I tasted it. I let evidence introduce itself politely. A receipt from a corner store off Ralph David Abernathy I'd never heard him mention. An extra toothbrush in a zip pocket of his gym duffel. A second phone he kept face down like it was shy. Then the address written on the back of a takeout menu, Alana's, with a flourish on the A I'd seen once in a Christmas card from a woman with glossy hair and a laugh like she'd practiced in a mirror, Alana, from his office's marketing team. They only sometimes overlapped on projects. By the time I parked Yaya's old Mazda 3 doors down from a brick walk-up with peeling paint and pots of geraniums, I already knew what my lungs would do. They'd tighten at the sound of Marcus's voice floating from the second-floor balcony, loosen again when he laughed like he'd abandoned the version of himself who used to call me at lunch, just to hear me chopping onions. He carried a bag of groceries, lemons, bright as warning lights. Alana opened the door with bare feet, and a softness in her shoulders I recognized. The softness of a woman receiving a man who believes he belongs. I watched their kiss catch quickly and recede like a thief, learning the neighborhood's rhythms. The air outside the building smelled like hot concrete and someone else's dinner. Fried fish and a squeeze of lime. A train moaned the way trains do, like they remember leaving. The humidity laid hands on me the way church mothers do when they pray, firm, insistent, almost too much. I sat there and wrapped my fingers around the steering wheel and let myself feel the betrayal as a physical thing, a glittering ache behind the ribs, a copper tang at the back of my tongue, a prickle at the scalp the way you feel when lightning is close and the sky can't decide whether to spit or swallow. I could have walked up those stairs then. I could have made a spectacle on a modest landing under a dying fern. But what I wanted wasn't noise. I wanted architecture. I wanted him to meet a door that refused to remember his hands. The locksmith, Mr. Avery, a dry-witted elder with forearms like oak, and a habit of humming Blessed Assurance when he worked, taught me locks one summer when I catered his granddaughter's graduation and stayed to help him fix a sticky deadbolt. "Everybody thinks it's muscle," he'd murmured, guiding my wrist. "But a lock is a chorus of tiny yeses. You listen for each one and you don't rush the song." I'd laughed back then. We were replacing a cylinder, not healing a marriage. I didn't know I was gathering a tool I'd need for my own life. That night, when Marcus came home smelling like soap and citrus and distance, I placed the lemon sugar candle between us on the kitchen island. "You buy this?" I asked, soft as steam. He glanced at it like it was a random pebble I'd found in the yard. Babe, no. Where would I even... Why? I found it in your truck, I said. The house creaked, one of those old house noises that sounds like a throat clearing. Marcus smiled. He has the kind of smile that makes strangers think he's harmless. He used to use it to get us extra hush puppies at our favorite spot. Now it looked like camouflage. Must have been from the supply run, he said. Break room revamp. Candles, hand soap. You know. I lifted it to my nose, watched his eyes flicker as if scent could testify. You sure work late for someone revamping a break room? He kissed my forehead like he was blessing me, like I was a child who needed tucking. Q4, he murmured, already walking away. It's a push. When you live with someone, you know the cadence of their lies. You know when the sentence is shorter than it should be, when the breath lands wrong, when the feet move a beat too quickly toward a shower. I let him go. I loaded the dishwasher. I turned on the vent hood to muffle the sound of my heart, deciding something final. Before dawn, I drove to 2C with Yaya beside me. Yaya, brown-skinned, eyes like skepticism dipped in honey, always arriving with snacks and opinions, chewed sunflower seeds, and read out loud the list she'd helped me write. Change their lock. Change mine. Deliver notes. Move money. Call Tasha, my lawyer and friend who keeps her hair wrapped tighter than her boundaries. Book Dr. Hollis, our therapist, because even exits deserve guidance. You about to be legendary, Yaya said, cracking a seed shell like punctuation. Just don't get arrested for being legendary. I won't, I said. I brought my church voice. The building's front door sighed when we slipped inside behind a delivery driver. The hall was a collage of other people's lives, shoes lined up like children, a coat rack listing under the weight of habit, a rug that had learned every footprint and quit being precious. Apartment 2C had a doormat that said, "This must be the place." I wanted to pick it up and set it on fire just enough to curl the edges. I carried my little black pouch, the same one Uncle Lavelle taught me to use when I was 16, and he swore a black woman should never be at the mercy of a stuck door. The picks felt like an old language in my fingers. Kneel, insert, breathe, listen. The pins whispered their tiny yeses, one after another. The turn was a prayer answered carefully. We were in. Lemon Sugar lived here, not the exact candle from my counter, but her cousin, two of them, wicks black like they'd been busy. The apartment had the temporary charm of a place meant to be haunted, not inhabited. Throw pillows chosen for their willingness to pose. A bar cart pretending at sophistication. A tray with the makings of cocktails nobody drinks on Wednesday unless they're practicing forgetting. On the fridge, a list in his handwriting. Milk, limes, paper towels, apology. The last word made me blink. Did he think buying limes could season a sorry? I didn't touch bedsheets or drawers. I looked. I listened. I made a map. The toothbrushes leaned against each other in a cup the way kids do in a photo booth. In the sink, a small gold earring that didn't belong to me glinted like it had a witness protection plan. On the tiny maple bistro table, a bill for the locksmith from last month, Alana's signature at the bottom. All flourish. No wait. I ran my fingertip over the numbers the way you run a hand over an old scar. Money has a smell too, dry, a little metallic, like the inside of a mailbox in July. Deception is expensive. Ready? Yaya asked, chin lifted. I nodded. It took me less than 3 minutes to swap the cylinder. The old one sat in my palm like a tooth the apartment had decided to shed. I placed it carefully on their bar cart next to the Lemon Sugar, twins, a private exhibit, artifacts from a temporary life. Then I wrote the note. In my grandmother's looping hand, because I wanted history to attend, locks learn the truth first. Consider this door your last open invitation. Do not come home. Those locks learned a better story. I folded the paper with care, slid it under the candle, and tucked the new key, my key, beneath it. Like a period. We left the apartment as quietly as grief leaves when it's finished teaching. On the landing, a neighbor's baby laughed like a bubble popping. I felt the first uncoil of something that might become peace. Back home, the air held the cool of early morning. I ground coffee beans and thought about hands. Mine that build in season, his that stray and then perform contrition. The house made its small, welcome noises. The fridge hum, the iron heat, the whisper of blinds when I pulled the cord. I opened the safe and laid out the documents like a place setting. Deed, insurance, bank accounts. I'm not a woman who confuses fury with a plan. I am a woman who alphabetizes. Before I swapped our front door cylinder, I sat on the bottom stair and said a quiet prayer, not for him but for me, that I would remain myself in the act of protecting myself. Then I picked up the screwdriver. The plate came off with a sigh. The old cylinder slid out with the resignation of a habit finally relieved of its duty. When the new lock clicked into place, the house exhaled so softly I almost missed it. I pressed my palm flat against the wood, felt the faint warmth of friction, and whispered, "You know me." The knob felt like agreement. If you're with me right now, if you can smell the coffee and the cedar polish and that ghost of lemon sugar I still haven't banished, tell me where you're watching from. I'm grateful you're here. Your time is shelter, and I don't take shelter lightly. I placed my second note in an envelope with his name on it and fed it through the brass mouth of the mail slot so it would fall like a verdict at his feet tonight. The house is closed to you now. For your belongings, send a list. For conversation, contact Dr. Hollis. For access, no. At 10:12 a.m., Alana texted from an unknown number. I knew it was her because she used too many exclamation points, like she didn't trust words to do their job. "Hi, is this Mariah? Can we talk? Woman to woman?" I typed and deleted 3 responses, the petty one, the preacher one, the legal one, before landing where I live. There's nothing you can say that changes what was already done. Do not contact me again. I blocked her. I drew a line on my mental map of this city. Here's the river you don't cross if you want to keep your shoes dry. By noon, the bank accounts stood on their own feet. By 1, the therapist had 2 appointments on hold. By 2, Tasha had reviewed a draft email to Marcus. For legal and safety reasons, please do not come onto my property. To retrieve personal items, send a list. They will be left on the porch at a scheduled time. Any further contact should be in writing. My fingers didn't tremble. My breath was a measured simmer. The lemon sugar candle sat on the counter like a prop that had lost its scene. At 3, the dread came, as it always does. That sudden inner weather shift when your body remembers it's human and asks if you really meant to step this far out on the bridge. What if he came angry? What if he cried and begged? What if the house I love becomes a stage for a scene I don't want? I walked each what if like a hallway, touching the walls, feeling for light switches. I reminded myself, clarity isn't cruelty. Boundaries aren't barbed wire, they're handrails. I brewed tea I put on my grandmother's record, the old blues one where the singer laughs in the middle of a verse like she's surprised she survived to tell it. At 4:53 p.m., Marcus texted, "Running late, don't wait up." The lowercase felt like insult. At 5:02, I drove to the Love Nest and slid the second copy of my first note under the door. I didn't linger. I didn't need to see their reactions to know the shape they'd make. Shock always has the same cheekbones. Nightfall smelled like cut grass and summer clinging. I left a small bag for Marcus on the porch, 2 changes of clothes, toiletries, the spare watch he keeps for casual Fridays. I taped an index card to it, therapist's Zoom link. Please use it. I am not your enemy. I am simply the woman who refuses to betray me with you. At midnight, tires whispered up our street. His engine cut. Keys jingled like a nervous laugh. The knob turned. Metal met memory and found a stranger. "Mariah?" His voice was soft, first, then sharper. "Babe, the key's not... What's going on?" The house listened. So did I. The mail slot clicked. The note slid in. He read. I imagined the cascade of emotions, a free fall through indignation, confusion, the early acid of fear when a man realizes the woman he counted on to be reasonable has decided to be formidable. He knocked, an old rhythm from the years when I'd answer with feet light on wood and a smile he hadn't yet learned to waste. He knocked again. "Mariah, open up. Let's talk." "We'll talk," I said through the door, voice level as a carpenter's tool. "With Dr. Hollis, not here." Not tonight. Are you serious? A laugh, half charm, half threat. You changed the locks? I changed the story, I said. My hands didn't shake. My heart did a small dance like it had been waiting for this exact line. You don't live here anymore. He swore under his breath, the word landing hard enough to bruise a neighbor's sleep. Then the quiet that happens when a man meets a boundary he can't negotiate. Footsteps retreated. A car door. An engine. The porch reclaimed itself. In the morning, the sun buttered the hallway with light. Mr. Lionel from next door left a brown paper bag of peaches and a note that said, "For sweetness, that tells the truth." I laughed, peeled one over the sink, and let juice run my wrist like a benediction. I pressed my fingertip to the new lock again as if to say, good morning to a partner who understood the assignment. If you're still with me and this story's got your chest rising and falling like mine did on that porch, like the house did when it finally picked a side, tap that like and subscribe if these truth-tellings are the kind of company you want more of. Only if you mean it. We don't collect people here. We gather the right ones. By noon, the calls began. Unknown numbers. A voicemail where Marcus's voice pitched into the register men use when they're scared of being named. "This is drastic," he said. "We can fix it. Just don't embarrass me like this." Embarrass. As if my insistence on self-respect were a slapstick routine meant for his co-workers. I emailed him instead of calling back. "We can discuss logistics with Dr. Hollis present. Please send your list of items." I CC'd Tasha. I printed a copy. Paper can be armor when people try to turn history into fog. That afternoon, I visited my supplier for rosemary and thyme starts, plants my grandmother swore guard a home against bitterness. The woman at the counter, an auntie with hands like soil and eyes like a before and after photo of joy, pressed an extra bundle into my palm. "On the house," she said, like a prayer that knew my address. "For fresh beginnings." Driving back, I passed Alana on the sidewalk 2 blocks from the love nest. She wore sunglasses and the posture of someone rehearsing her version. She saw me. Her mouth made a small shape. Apology or surprise, hard to tell at 35 miles per hour. I didn't slow. Not because I wanted to be cruel, but because I refused to audition for a role in a play I didn't write. That evening I kneaded dough for biscuits I didn't need, just to feel something obey my hands. The house felt different, a subtle rebalancing like a picture finally hung straight. The lemon sugar candle sat on the back step, wick clipped, waiting for trash day. A storm gathered somewhere to the south, thunder with the bass turned up, lightning testing the edges of sky. I stood at the new door and watched rain find the porch, grateful for eaves, for small protections. And somewhere across town, in a second-floor walk-up with cheap art and the habit of pretend, Marcus tried a key in a door that didn't know him either. He'd use that voice on Alana, the urgent one, the "we'll get through this one." He'd stand there, drenched in the consequence he created, and he'd finally know the difference between a woman's patience and a woman's plan. I slept with the windows cracked to let the storm's white noise rinse the last of the lemon sugar from the air, and when I woke, I felt the smallest thing. My shoulders weren't braced. The house had stopped flinching. The lock, cool under my palm, felt like an oath I made to myself and kept. The morning after the storm, the air smelled brand new, like wet earth and second chances. I stepped outside in my robe, hair wrapped, coffee steaming in my hand, and for the first time in months, the world didn't tilt. The air was clean, honest. The lemon sugar ghosts were gone. The sky stretched wide and open just the way I like it. Inside, the house hummed soft, as if it had exhaled too. There's a quiet that comes when a home finally knows who belongs inside it, and I swear, it's the same kind of peace you feel when a child sleeps through the night for the first time. I didn't cry that morning. I didn't even curse. I just stood in my doorway barefoot and said, "Thank you, Lord. You saw me through." Then my phone buzzed. It was Marcus, the name I used to love seeing lit up my screen. "Marcus, I just need to come get a few things, Mariah. That's all. Don't make this ugly." I laughed. Not a loud, bitter laugh. A small, knowing one. Because men like Marcus always think it's the woman making things ugly, never the affair, never the deceit, never the carelessness that tore through vows like tissue paper. I didn't reply. I forwarded the text to my lawyer, Tasha. She called me 10 minutes later. "You holding up, sis?" "Better than fine," I said, stirring sugar into my coffee. "He's locked out of both places now. I imagine he's realizing what silence feels like." Tasha chuckled, that deep, raspy sound that says she's both amused and proud. "That man played around and lost the whole house. You sure you don't want to file for the separation today?" "Not yet. I want him to sit in the quiet a little longer. Sometimes the absence teaches louder than the words ever could," she hummed. "Then sit in your power. I'll prep the papers when you're ready." I hung up, leaned against the counter, and let her words settle. Sit in your power. It felt good. Not just good, solid. But power has its own rhythm. You can't just hold it. You have to learn to live with it. So I made breakfast. Biscuits, grits, and a fried egg that broke perfectly. I plated it like I used to for Marcus on Sunday mornings, because peace deserves presentation too. While I ate, I scrolled through the photos on my phone. So many smiles that didn't mean what I thought they did. His arm around my waist at the cookout, his hand covering mine at Christmas dinner, the look in his eyes when I thought love lived there. I didn't delete them, not yet. I wanted to remember what self-deception looks like. After breakfast, I went upstairs to my little home office. That room had always been mine. Lavender walls, sunlight through the sheer curtains, my mother's Bible open on the desk, the place I wrote menus, invoices, and sometimes my prayers. I opened a new document and typed the title. Things I refuse to apologize for. Then I wrote, for being observant. For protecting my peace. For changing locks instead of changing myself to fit betrayal. For not shouting. For not crying. For leaving silently and thoroughly. For being the woman who acted instead of begged. When I finished, I printed it and taped it to my mirror. If you've ever had to reclaim your own power, if you know the smell of peace after pain, tell me in the comments below where you're watching from. Because this circle right here, it's for women who refuse to stay broken. I'm grateful you're part of it. That day, I got a call from Dr. Hollis. "How are we doing today, Mariah?" she asked, her voice warm, professional, patient. "Better than yesterday," I said. "And tomorrow, I'll be better still." We met over Zoom. She looked at me through her glasses with that calm smile that says she's seen 1,000 women stand up and rediscover their spine. "I want to talk about what victory means to you," she said. "It's not revenge," I said quickly. "It's peace. It's sleeping without wondering whose perfume I smell." She nodded. "That's healing. What about closure?" "I already have it," I said. "It came with the new locks." Dr. Hollis smiled so wide it reached her eyes. "Then you're ahead of schedule, my dear." After our session, I spent the afternoon tending to the rosemary and thyme I'd planted by the porch. Their smell rose when the sun hit just right, earthy, forgiving. I think I prayed through those herbs without meaning to. That evening, Yaya stopped by with her loud knock and louder laughter. "I brought peach cobbler and gossip," she said, pushing past me like she owned the place. "You always bring both," I teased. "Damn right." She handed me a plate. "Marcus called Mama." I sighed. Of course he did. Men always think the older women can shame you back into submission. What'd she say? She told him, and I quote, "Boy, that woman fed you, prayed for you, and gave you a good life. You broke the lease. Now pay the rent on your own regrets." I laughed so hard I almost dropped my cobbler. "I love your mama." She said she'd pray for him, then asked me if I wanted to go half on a weekend trip to Savannah, said she wants to toast your freedom. I could have cried right there. You tell her I said yes. That night, I slept deeply. No dreams, no tossing, just a steady rhythm of breath and rest, the kind that only comes after a war you didn't want but won anyway. Around 7 a.m., a small sound woke me. Not a knock, not footsteps, a soft thud at the door. I opened it to find an envelope slid beneath the threshold. His handwriting. I could have thrown it away. But curiosity is a stubborn cousin to closure. I opened it. Mariah, I don't even know where to start. I'm sorry. I never meant for it to go this far. Alana meant nothing. I lost sight of who I was, and you've always been the only home that felt real. Please, let's talk. I'll go to therapy. I'll do whatever it takes. Just give me one more chance. M. For a moment, I just stared at it. Then I folded the paper once, twice, 3 times, until it was small enough to disappear into the pocket of my robe. Later that day, I met Dr. Hollis again. I told her about the letter. What do you want to do with it? She asked. I think I already did what I needed to, I said. She tilted her head. You didn't respond? No, I said, smiling faintly. Some letters aren't invitations, they're mirrors. I just let it reflect. When I got home, I burned the letter in the kitchen sink. Slow, clean, one corner at a time. The smoke rose thin and steady, and for the first time I felt no ache, no anger, no fear. Just peace. And peace, my love, has a scent, all its own, not lemon sugar, not cedar, something in between, like rain drying on warm skin. If you've been through betrayal and found your way back to yourself, drop A in the comments. That's how we find each other in this community, woman to woman, soul to soul. A week passed before I heard from Marcus again. I was in the middle of prepping for a big catering job, a summer wedding out by Lake Oconee, soft jazz, magnolia trees, and guests who thought just a little more salt was an acceptable critique for food they didn't pay for. I was rolling biscuit dough when my phone buzzed on the counter. Marcus, voicemail. Mariah, it's me. I'm staying at a motel for now. I can't sleep. I can't eat. I've made the biggest mistake of my life. You don't even have to talk to me. Just let me see you. Please. I listened once, then again, and then I deleted it. Because forgiveness doesn't require reunion, and regret doesn't earn access. I wiped the flour from my hands and looked around my kitchen. Every inch of that space held a memory, some good, some gone, but it all belonged to me now. My laughter, my silence, my healing. When I plated the sample dish later that night, I realized something beautiful. The taste of my own peace was richer than anything I'd ever cooked. That Sunday, I went to church for the first time since everything happened. I sat near the back, where the quiet ones go, and listened to Pastor Reeves talk about deliverance without drama. He said, "Some of y'all waiting for a trumpet to blow before you leave what's killing you. God already gave you the door. He's just waiting for you to walk through." I nearly shouted right there. After service, Sister June hugged me so tight, I thought my ribs might squeak. "I've been praying for you, baby," she said. "You look lighter." I smiled. "I changed the locks, Sister June." She blinked. Then she laughed so loud half the choir turned around. "Oh, praise God! That's deliverance with a screwdriver." That became a little joke between us. But deep down, I knew it was more than a joke. It was truth. Deliverance isn't always fire and brimstone. Sometimes it's a woman with a new key and a steady hand. That same evening, I was sitting on the porch with Yaya when an email came through. Subject line: Formal apology, Marcus. He'd written paragraphs, some remorseful, some defensive. I skimmed through the part where he blamed work stress and midlife confusion. Typical. Then one line caught my eye. I realize now that everything I wanted was already at home. I almost pitied him. Almost. Because that's the thing about men like Marcus. They never realize home isn't a place. It's a peace you earn by telling the truth. I didn't reply. Instead, I drafted my own message. Marcus, I accept your apology. I wish you healing. But this chapter is closed. Please direct all communication through my attorney regarding property or logistics. Mariah. That was the last message I ever sent him. 2 months later, I stood outside my catering van, watching my new sign go up. Lock and Key, Catering, Food that Frees the Soul. Yaya helped me design it. She said, "Girl, make your story your brand." So I did. Every event we book comes with a menu named after my turning points. Lemon sugar chicken, sweet but sharp. Changed the locks, gumbo, a mix of everything that didn't break me, and vindication pie. Peach, of course, because sweetness that tells the truth deserves a legacy. The business took off faster than I expected. Maybe people tasted the story behind it. Maybe they could feel that my food wasn't just seasoned. It was forgiven. And funny enough, that little story spread. Folks would ask, "You the lady who changed the locks on her husband and kept the house?" And I'd smile and say, "Yes, ma'am. Twice over." Sometimes I'd get messages from women across the country, New Orleans, Detroit, Chicago, saying, "I did it too, Miss Mariah. I changed my locks." And I'd reply, "Then you've already won." If you've ever taken your power back, if you've ever walked through a door that used to scare you, tap that like, subscribe, and share this story with another sister who needs a reminder that she can too. Because this space, it's ours. But before I end this story, let me tell you what true victory looked like. One autumn afternoon, I was setting up for a wedding out near Stone Mountain. The air smelled like apples and wood smoke. My hair was tied up, my apron dusted with flour, my playlist humming Mahalia Jackson. That's when I saw him. Marcus. He was standing near the parking lot, thinner, quieter. The swagger was gone. He looked like a man who'd been living in borrowed rooms too long. He lifted a hand, hesitant, and I nodded, polite, distant. He started walking over, but before he could speak, Alana appeared beside him. She looked tired, her edges frayed. They stood there like a cautionary tale, two people who mistook temptation for connection. "Mariah," he began, voice soft, "I just wanted to say—" "You don't have to," I said. "I already forgave you. But forgiveness doesn't mean return." He nodded, eyes low. "You look good," he murmured. "I feel good," I said simply. Then I smiled, genuinely, freely, and turned back to my table, to my work, to my life. That was the moment I knew I'd won, not because he saw it, but because I didn't need him to. The rest of the evening was golden. The bride cried happy tears, the groom danced like joy owed him money, and my peach cobbler disappeared in 10 minutes flat. As I packed up, one of the guests said, "Miss Mariah, your food tastes like peace." And I thought, that's exactly what it is. When I got home that night, I stood at my door, the same door I'd changed with my own hands, and touched the lock. The metal was cool, steady. It had outlasted the storm. I whispered, "We made it," to the house, to myself, to every woman who ever had to rebuild from ashes. Then I went inside. Because that's what healing women do. We don't stand outside anymore. We walk through our own doors. If this story found you when you needed it, if you felt my heartbeat somewhere in yours, please like this video, subscribe, and share your story in the comments. Because I promise you, somewhere out there is another woman waiting to hear that peace isn't a miracle. It's a decision. And I decided the day I changed those locks that my peace was worth keeping.